Hey, what's up everyone, it's Fizz and welcome to another My Team episode number 5 career mode episode, and this is the Dutch Grand Prix. So this is our home Grand Prix for both me and Nick de Vries, my second driver. So we're here just to select the sponsor, update the car livery, update my helmet as well, because this is a one-off livery just to celebrate that we're finally racing for the first time in the Zandvoort Grand Prix at the very start of, well, 2020. So it has been years ever since the Zandvoort Grand Prix has been announced on the official Formula 1 calendar. But yeah, now that we are actually here, we have to, of course, profit from it. But yeah, we first start off with choosing a sponsor. That will be Paynite. Paynite was the top 12. We could have chosen for the top 10, but that is a little bit too risky and the bonus isn't too much. So after updating our sponsor as well as our livery, this is how our car finally looks like, and it is, in my opinion, really gorgeous. It has the orange tint now as well because of the Dutch Grand Prix. Here we chose our helmets, so it has the red, white and blue as well as the orange, just to go full Dutch here, and yeah, just like that it will most likely please the crowd. So I'm very happy with this. In terms of our engine, we still have some significant engine wear, so we will eventually need to take penalties. I'm not sure when yet, but it will probably be at a power circuit where it's easy to overtake. With that, we can probably mitigate our losses. So in terms of our facilities, we will actually go for the extra resource point generation because we do have some additional money. And like that, we can have some additional R&D points that will provide us a lot more upgrades. So in terms of our activity timeline, we were thinking about how to fill in our schedule because there's a present view in the middle of it. So we do go with the sponsor advertisement for team building, the team acclaim. Furthermore, we go with the chassis team building as well as the, what will it be? The weight training to get some additional pace on Nick de Vries. He will need that for the Dutch Grand Prix because if he performs well, everybody will be happy.
As we continue to increase our acclaim, more potential partners become willing to work with us. We can now approach an additional sponsor from the corporate tab.
Thanks Jeff, but we've already done that. We've gone with Paynite, as you may have seen already, so yeah.
Well, it's great to be back at your headquarters, and I've got to say, an awful lot's changed since we were last here. Let's dive in with some questions. Let's talk about your new second driver. How are they settling in?
Well, we love to have Nick, and Nick is absolutely loving the car. He's driving like crazy, and we're happy to have him. So yeah, there you go.
Do you see your relationship with your second driver being long-term, or will you be looking for someone else if you're successful?
I mean, as long as the drivers really provide a lot of results, we're happy to support him. And Nick is providing that effort, so we're happy to support him as well in the long run.
Would it be safe to say that in terms of team orders, your career comes first in your team?
Well, no to you, viewer. We're not really a high team, top tier team, so for now, we'll say no team orders.
Will your team be going for the Constructors' Championship this season, or just for points?
I think we can already be happy if we score some points. We're still developing, we're still starting out. This is our first ever season. We're getting the facilities ready, we're getting the team bunched up together, and just like that, we're hoping to get some points.
What are your predictions for your team going into this season?
Well, like I said, we're still starting up, so just like that, we want to ensure that we get a solid foundation, and from there we want to score some points, but from there we hope to take some momentum going into the next seasons and score some points there.
Well, thanks a lot for inviting us here. It's been fantastic.
Thank you, Will Buxton. It's really nice to see him in game. So yeah, we fast forward to the Dutch Grand Prix, and this will be a very interesting one. So let's go. As we can see on the weather forecast, for qualifying it's completely dry and for the race it's completely wet, so that is perfect conditions for any viewer watching Formula 1. So I hope we can deliver on our first ever entrance on the Dutch Grand Prix. Stakes are very high. Let's go.
I've had a chat with Carl about the new parts, and we're happy that they've been integrated into the car okay. With any luck, you'll be able to feel the improvement, so give them a try. Work, you seem to have a solid handle on the lap. Let's try and perfect each turn. Remember that chaining good corners together will give you a consistency bonus.
So Jeff was talking about the chassis update, which came through for us, which is a very good sign for us, because now the car feels less unstable throughout the corners. And like that, we can try to perfect each corner of Zandvoort. We missed one point, that was because I was going a little bit wide, but other than that, I practice a lot on this track, so I'm feeling really...
Great stuff, you pretty much
to remind ourselves of our top three, who are Leclerc, Bottas, and Max Verstappen.
Thank you.
What an incredible practice session. The fun doesn't stop here, though. Join us again as the rest of the weekend unfolds.
So yeah, for now it does seem that we're on a right track. We are very acclimatized with the track. The car feels really stable. We have a good setup going in, both for qualifying and the race, because I don't think the setup really differs that much compared to what I had there. In terms of the rivalry, we're still pretty close with Kevin Magnussen, but for the R&D tree, we do see that we have 1200 resource points, so those additional resource points coming in clutch, which means that we can just barely purchase this major upgrade for the aerodynamics department. It still has a 40% failure chance, so we still have to work on that, but yeah, being able to spend that time in the first place to get some upgrades going is already a massive improvement. So I hope we can keep this momentum forward and keep the car more aerodynamically stable, as well as being as light as possible so the Honda engine can do its work. In terms of the performance chart, we are pretty much tied up with Alfa Romeo Racing, although I'm not sure how much durability comes into play into the R&D chart, but for now we do look pretty even, so I hope we can deliver something good, and let's go to qualifying.
Engine fired, we're set.
There we have it, a completely dry qualifying. This is going to be very interesting. I've practiced this track so much just to deliver a very good performance here. I don't want to let the fans down. So yeah, let's have it at the first lap of the Dutch Grand Prix, going out of this very interesting pit exit. You have to be sure not to cross that line because it's very tight in there. We're going for our first lap. We do have a decent exit. We have a slight slipstream. I don't think it really matters that much, being that close. But we go a little bit wide in turn 1, so that's not really good. So we are trying to overpush the car as we see Maxus going out of the pit exit. And later on in the lap, we do see... yeah, it's all very wide in here, so it's not really that great. As well as here, we want to be hugging the curbs, but so far it's not a good lap.
There's only one lap of fuel remaining.
So far it's not a good lap, and we have to try again, but at least with this scruffy lap we're already ahead of Nick de Vries, so that is already a good sign for us. Well, not really for Nick de Vries, but it is good for us that we do have some pace.
11.6.
We're still 1.5 seconds away from the top leaders, but yeah, that does show that we still have a lot of improvement to do in order to get to the top teams, so that will take a season or two. And then again we go wide, so it's not really a good lap. And we actually abort this lap because it's not really that good at all, unfortunately, but yeah, it is how it is. And yeah, for now we're still in P. Everybody has set their time. We were at 11.6, we are still at 11.6, and we are actually P12 for now, so that is a crazy result. So that does show that our practice has come through, as well as the upgrades for the R&D departments. But as we go to our final lap of qualifying, we still go a little bit wide, but it's not too bad in turn 1, as we do gain a little bit more time. But then in this corner, we do lose all of our time, and unfortunately, that is it. It's constantly yo-yoing between whether or not we win or lose time. But yeah, we do have a lockup here and there. We do take a better line, so that's how we still gain some time. Then again, we don't hug that corner anymore, so we're still trying to over push this car. And yeah, unfortunately, it's not an improvement. But we still cross the line, and it will be P13. Here's another 13 driver getting P13. I'm very happy with that. So yeah, that is qualifying. We're in P13, and that should be a good start of the Grand Prix. Nick de Vries unfortunately got P17, so he was a little bit off with just 2/10. So it does show that it's very close, but yeah, here's where we realized it was only qualifying once. So we have to qualify again, but we've already used all of our sets. So with no clean sets, fresh sets, we're driving very carefully not to degrade these tires in order to get the maximum performance out of it. Because we still have qualifying 2 to complete it. We don't expect to be in qualifying 3 anyway. And it doesn't really matter how worse you make these tires, because we're starting on wet tires anyway. But yeah, as you can see, all of our tires are worn. We are in P9 so far. It's only a couple of hundredths of seconds between me and K-Mac, which is the driver I want to beat for my rivalry. So on the second run, we already gained a lot of time in the first corner, 4/10. Everybody is rubbing in the track by now, so we do profit from that. Going for this corner, we get so much closer to the curbs, and it gives us so much more time. Here we don't try to make the same mistake again. We do hug the corner a little bit more, and that gives us a lot more tenths of a second. 7/10 up already. Going into very quick, somewhat hairpin corner. 8/10 up. So 8/10 is already a big, massive improvement, but we tried to gain more time. We cannot get the traction down. That loses another 10th, unfortunately. But coming over the line, it's still a 7/10 improvement, and that will be P. I'm very happy with that result, but seeing how a 1/10 was lost in the final turn, that could have been P11. So you can see it was really close between me and Giovinazzi already. That is on P11. Yeah, we could have made it to Q3 potentially if we didn't make that mistake, but still, it's a very good qualifying session, and we can be very happy with that one. So we do switch out our engine components because they're all pretty worn. I don't want to risk getting an engine issue during the race. We could have potentially done this for qualifying, but yeah, let's go.
It was 35 years ago that the late great Niki Lauda took his 25th and final Grand Prix win here at Zandvoort. He came from 10th on the grid to beat his McLaren teammate Alain Prost by just 2/10 of a second. Well, Zandvoort is a very different circuit today, of course, but still one with an incredible legacy. And we're going to add to that. Welcome along to the 2020 Dutch Grand Prix. 2.6 miles then make up a lap here at a wet Zandvoort circuit, where some tricky braking zones and sudden drops can make it all too easy to slide off into the gravel. There are 14 corners overall and a 678-metre main straight, providing the best chance for overtaking. Joining us today to oversee all the thrills and spills, it's Anthony Davidson. And great to see you. How are you feeling about the race today, and how are the circuit conditions from what you've seen?
Well, the surface looks clean enough, but I'm a little bit worried about the track temperature. It's pretty cool out there, which could give some teams difficulties when it comes to keeping their tyres in the right operating window. The cars out there that work their tyres hard and really put a lot of energy through them, they'll be the ones that are better off.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, Leclerc, Alexander Albon, and Perez, Norris, Sainz, Gasly, and Antonio Giovinazzi, Ocon, Hamilton, Daniel Ricciardo, Red, Stroll, Magnussen, Nick de Vries, and Daniel Kvyat, Raikkonen, Grosjean, Russell and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track and get this Grand Prix underway.
Okay, I know it's your home Grand Prix, but treat it like any other race. Don't take unnecessary risks.
Right, thanks Jeff for the encouragement once more. We do see on the weather radar that the rain is going to be less and less over the period. So we do try to measure it out by going very much on the field. So we do take roughly 4 laps less than the actual race laps, as well as trying to mitigate for the rain, where we try to go for intermediate tires. So we'll see whether it will be a single stop or a 2-stop, where we will pit in once more for intermediates or maybe even dries if the rain conditions suddenly stop. You will never know what happens, so we'll have to take everything into account. But for now, this is a strategy, and yeah, let's go in for the race and let's have some fun. As we get the 5 red lights and we're ready to go, and we see Hamilton in front of us. He had a very bad qualifying, so he might have an issue onto his car. But yeah, let's go, and we're trying to find the traction, and it does seem that Ricciardo has a little bit more traction than us, as we see the Prix diving down our inside. But we do find a little bit of a place to go in, so we slot in behind Giovinazzi, and now all we have to do is follow him through for the entire next corner. And we do find a little bit more traction, a little bit of space around the outside, and we do dive in, and ooh, that was very close against Hamilton. But we do find the space, and we
up through the gears earlier. They think it'll save fuel.
Mate, we're 4 laps behind. Of course we're gonna save fuel. Anyway, we do slot in behind Hamilton, but Hamilton does have a little bit of a better exit, and we're trying to find some grip here around this track. And yeah, it's super slippery here. If you do not feather the throttle, you will spin out anyway. But let's see what happened to Max Verstappen. His home Grand Prix race start. He does have a somewhat decent start. He had a lot of wheel spin though in first gear, and now he's trying to accelerate. He can make it up in turn 1, but he gets blocked a little bit by Bottas, so that compromises his race start. And we see Sebastian Vettel going down his inside. So does Verstappen has to yield? No, he's trying to find grip around the outside. Does not make it, because Vettel has the inside line and has a lot more grip over there. And there he goes. He has to start it for P3, so that is not a good race start for Max Verstappen, as we do see Valtteri Bottas setting the fastest time. And we're getting a little bit close to Hamilton though. We're trying to get into his race pace. Maybe we can overtake him and get into the points. But so far, it does seem like we have to slot in and have to find our own grip, and have to save a lot of fuel as this race progresses. But yeah, we do get a little bit close, but as soon as we get to the straights, we do see that the Mercedes and yeah, the Renault in front has a lot more acceleration going on, so that is unfortunate. As we do try to make up some pace here, yeah, we don't have to pace in order to slot in, as we do drift a little bit around the final turn. It's very easy to do that. But yeah, for now we're trying to catch up to Hamilton, and we do so a little bit small lockup on the right hand side. But then again, it's still no use. We do see that even though we're pushing as hard as we can, and like we can in this weather, take a little detour on the grass. Fortunately, no crash. We do lose a little bit of time behind Hamilton, but yeah, we do see that this tire is breaking up a little bit. We also see the weather not being as hectic as it was in the initial lap, so it might actually be time to switch up to the slicks, as we just can't find any grip anymore. The tires feel very worn, even though they're only at around 20%. So we do dive it in for our first and hopefully only pit stop. But yeah, seeing how early it is already in the Grand Prix, we do dive in for the intermediate tires. But as you can see on the mini-map, we are being overtaken by the pack behind that we were trying to break away from.
Today, one stop left in our strategy.
So we do see Russell already going ahead, and we're trying to plant the power, but we go a little bit over the white line, so that's a little bit unsafe. We do get a warning for that. But yeah, that's P21. Still Latifi behind us, so he's not having a good race. As we look down the inside with the new intermediate tires, having potentially more grip, and yes, it does. And there we go, we overtaken Romain Grosjean, but he's not willing to give up that position so easily, so he does go around the outside, and yeah, has a little bit of a spin apparently. So let's watch the replay, what happened there. So we did go around the outside, provide a little bit more grip, but he go back for the switchback move, because that provides us more grip and momentum as we do overtake him. But then we can see Grosjean trying to re-overtake us, but he goes into the grass, does slow the car down and yields the position. The only thing he could do. So it's interesting to see the AI make mistakes like this. And yeah, let's chase down for George Russell in P19. We have to make up the spots in terms of getting our undercut to work as well as it should. But yeah, in this overboard shot we can see that we have the overspeed. We go around the outside, we're having none of it. Going down the inside, both brake really hard, as you can see on the tires, on the brakes being glowing red hot. And we do make our overtaking move work. So next up is Raikkonen. Try to get a good exit here and plant the power as soon as we can. Not yet an overtake because it's really slippery. We do save the car, but can we still overtake Raikkonen? Yes, we can, because he broke really early and we still have a lot of grip. He didn't see us coming, so we do make an argy-bargy move, make some slight collision. But from there, we have overtaken him, so that is a good time for us. And there we go, we're up into P18, trying to look at Daniel Kvyat and a similar move like we did on the previous driver. Go down his inside, and that is an easy overtake. Kvyat was looking for it. He went over the curves, but yeah, he thought better of it, other than Romain Grosjean almost spinning out of there. So now we have De Vries, and we do overtake him around the outside, but it does look like they're pitting. So yeah, for now.
Is 15.8 seconds.
For now, it does look like our undercut has worked a little bit, but not good enough, because we do see.
Through the gears earlier, it may help save more fuel.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. We do see Hamilton in front of us, but yeah, to no avail. But he's still a lot more closer than he was when we first started pitting. But when we try to get close to him, we do burn a lot of ERS, we do burn a lot of fuel. But still, it's no use. He's still faster.
Keep pushing.
And,
You're gaining on the car ahead.
Jeff is telling me that we're gaining, but actually we're just losing out to the laps. But let's look at what Max Verstappen is doing. He's going inside of the pit box in the P3 position. Vettel already has made a stop. So does Bottas, it would seem, because there was no one in front of him. Does get a decent enough pit stop. Gets held a little bit. But yeah, that is Bottas running. And he does gain a little bit of time on him. But where's the Ferrari? There's the Ferrari. So he does overtake Sebastian Vettel for P2, and that is his position solidified in P2, and now he can chase on to Valtteri Bottas on newer tires, trying to go for that race win. And we can see that Max Verstappen is already setting the fastest lap, as Hamilton is trying to overtake Esteban Ocon in a very unorthodox overtaking position, but he did have the speed, and Ocon is still thinking about overtaking him, but it is to no avail, as Hamilton is now in the clear position of P10, I believe. Yeah, P10. And he is now chasing...
Green flag.
We go a little bit wide there because we saw Hamilton spin out. He was trying to overtake Pierre Gasly, but yeah, let's see that on the replay. He goes around for the outside and he makes the big spin. No damage though, but he is on the gravel, so yeah, that's a lot of time lost for him. Very weird to see mistakes like that, especially from this six-time world champion. Let's see this from his own board, because I think he wanted to go around the outside, and yeah, similar to Grosjean, he just loses grip. He had too much momentum going into that, so he couldn't slow it down enough. That means he had to go into the gravel. And yeah, just like that, he started his recovery race from all the way in the back. as we go down to lap 22, and we dive it down for the pit stops again, as we saw our tires breaking a little bit, so that was our cue in order to get in. Right into our pit window, because that was between lap 23 and 31. 31 is really late though, so that's kind of interesting.
Release.
And a 1.9 pit stop, that is crazy fast.
Into those tires.
But I guess that compensates for the 3.8 that they did earlier on, so it does feel a lot like RNG between 1.8, 1.9-ish to 4 seconds. So yeah, we're trying to push, but we do make some small mistakes, so not really good for us.
Think it's going to dry up. 10 minutes.
And we're not really sure about the strategy either, because 10 minutes until the rain stops, so maybe we could have gone on and bid it for slicks, but yeah, for now we have to go for it, as we see Lewis Hamilton inside of the pit, so we overtake him like that. We do see on the front leader pack that there's still an exciting race going on between Valtteri Bottas and Max Verstappen, as they are both trying to go into the side of the pit, so it's going to be a pit stop race once more, as we do see Verstappen going very close against Bottas, and Bottas has a very slow stop it seems, and the Red Bull has nicked it. They have nicked P1 from Valtteri Bottas, so excellent work from the Red Bull racing crew in order to get P1, and the crowd should be very pleased with that one. As we see Max Verstappen and Valtteri Bottas coming out with, I think that is Kimi Räikkönen, who's about to be lapsed. So yeah. Furthermore, we do see our teammates Nick de Vries fending off Daniel Ricciardo, Romain Grosjean, and I think that is Daniel Kvyat for, I believe, is P12, P13. So he's doing his best as well as they go around the final corner. It's actually Kevin Magnussen and Pierre Gasly, but they do go inside of the pits, and Kevin Magnussen goes out a little bit longer. So this is another pit stop race inside of the pits. 3 people have come in. So the order was Nick de Vries, Ricciardo, and then Pierre Gasly. And it does seem to be the same way, except Pierre Gasly has lost out a little bit of time and has to fight a little bit more. As we do see Hamilton making another mistake, and this time he goes into the barrier. Yeah, that is one big of a hell of a mistake, and he does it again. He did not learn from his mistake previously where he spun out onto the gravel. Let's see how that actually preserved, and yeah, that's just a sloppy mistake. Very, very, very sloppy mistake, and yeah, just like that he crashes his front wing, and now he has to box in again for a new front wing, so that will cost him a lot of time. But yeah, just immense scenes here at the Dutch Grand Prix. As you can see, the Mercedes crew, he is being overtaken by plenty of cars here, so he has lost a lot of time. He has to re-overtake those cars in order to get back into this Grand Prix. But for now, what looked like an unfortunate P11 starting position has only gotten worse for Lewis Hamilton, as he gets lapped here by Sebastian Vettel, and now he has to fight Romain Grosjean outside of the pit lane at the end of the Grand Prix. That is very unfortunate scenes. But it is a reality for Lewis Hamilton, making a mistake twice in this Dutch Grand Prix. He got caught off guard twice. Maybe it's a little bit too impatient, but yeah, it's very unfortunate for him. So you do see Daniel Ricciardo chasing down our teammate, and he's going to the right, not to box, but to let the Ferrari by, because he's getting laps. And there he goes, and Nick de Vries is going back as well, but Daniel Ricciardo capitalized on that, and he nicks down a place from Nick de Vries. So let's have a look at that again. Going down the inside, giving the room for Sebastian Vettel to pass him. And while Sebastian Vettel is passing Nick de Vries, he slots in behind Sebastian Vettel and nicks down the position. But fortunately, Nick de Vries can hold off against Lewis Hamilton, who had an awful race so far. And as we go down the final road, final corner, it is going to be P9 for us, but the race is still not over, because Nick de Vries has to fend off in the final turn against Lewis Hamilton, similar to what Pierre Gasly did in Brazil. And it's going to be a drag race. Cross the line, Lewis Hamilton is faster, but Nick de Vries crosses the line first, so that will be a lofty P12, I believe, for him, as our AI driver loses control after us weaving around the Grand Prix. We get driver of the day. Thank you very much. And yeah, what an excellent Grand Prix.
Magnificent victory here at the Dutch Grand Prix. So Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
Red Bull put up an outstanding fight for the front position today, and it's great to see it paid off for them. They do so much for the sport that you can't help but be delighted by today's race win.
And there you have it. Max Verstappen wins the Dutch Grand Prix, his home Grand Prix, in a fantastic style. Mainly due to the pit stop crew, but also him having the solid pace and winning, using that to his advantage at the pit stop. So, fantastic race. We had a good race as well. We started 14th and we ended up in P9 for 2 additional points. That is our maximum position. We could not catch up to the McLarens ahead, but we were able to fend off Pierre Gasly as well as our rival Kevin Magnussen, and Nick de Vries coming in a very, very solid P13, with Lewis Hamilton having a shocking Grand Prix. Yeah, no other words can explain what happened to him. Very shocking. But yeah, if we look at the standings, he does take a dent, but he's not that super dominant anymore. Max Verstappen does overtake Albon now in the standings, and we are still fighting with Kimi Räikkönen for the P13th place. Lando Norris gets his first points, so that brings him up a little bit, provides him a little bit more of a position where he truly belongs. Nick de Vries does gain a little bit of a position because of his finishing position, but still no points for him. But yeah, looking like that, it's going very solid. Mercedes still a very ultra dominant team. Red Bull coming a close second, Ferrari in third, very close to Red Bull. But yeah, we're still in that P9, and we have to do it with that. So let's go to the interviews.
So that was an exciting race from our perspective. Let's have yours. Did you struggle to get through all that traffic today?
Well, of course, the wet weather made it a little bit tricky, but I think our aerodynamic performance as well as the chassis was just amazing. So we can be really happy with that.
You're surpassing all expectations. Can anything or anyone stop you?
Well, of course, we have to compliment the team because, and especially the aero package, because it's crazy how well this performed today on the track.
Did you feel comfortable in the wet weather today?
Yeah, I mean, weather is fun, but yeah, fortunately we have a good team in order to mitigate for this. We had some good strategies, and it worked out in the end.
Do you think your teammate was enjoying themselves in front of their home crowd?
Yeah, I was enjoying myself as well, but Nick de Vries was enjoying himself as well. He fended off Daniel Ricciardo really well. Unfortunately, it didn't work out in the end, but yeah, still a good race.
Great. Well, that's everything.
And that is it. That is the Dutch Grand Prix, and we do see that we finish ahead of Kevin Magnussen in terms of race position as well as fastest lap, so that is really good for us. Nick de Vries gets a little bit more acclaim, so that is good for him. We get a big fat sponsor bonus because we finished the laps as well as finishing ahead of P12.
Morning, boss. This week's income from the sponsors has cleared, and we're making good profit against our running costs.
Yeah, as you can see, we already have 2 million to spend, so that is a very good Grand Prix as well as a good race as well. We can be really happy with that. So if you really like this video, hit that like button and subscribe if you're new, and you will be surprised with more Formula content. So see you then. Goodbye.